I think we lost count of how many companies have come to us saying, I need $1 million and I've got a convertible note, and that's what we're going to do. And the first question we ask is, well, why do you want to do it that way? And they say, well, that's what everybody told us to do because that's what everybody does.
Yep.
And it's an unfortunate misconception in the kind of marketplace, specifically for food companies. So you're right. You get a lot of companies who show up and they haven't fully gone through the exercise of figuring out exactly what they need, how much money they need, and what they need it for.
Right.
Most people are, I think, familiar with the idea of bootstrapping. Bootstrapping is you don't go borrow money.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you get some family money, but you basically are using your bank account, your credit cards, things that you have access to, and hopefully you can manage responsibly. And so you bootstrap it. Bootstrap Plus really is the approach of adding the thinking of taking the least amount of capital to achieve the goals you need.
Mm-hmm.
So as opposed to, I need $1 million because that's what I was told I need to get a convertible note, and otherwise it's not an appropriate conversation. Most of those companies we've met, I think at the end of the day, when we've worked with them, they've needed something like $50,000 to $200,000.
I believe so.
And that's an enormous gap between that and $1 million.
Right.
So Bootstrap Plus is really the idea of thinking about the minimum amount of money without undercapitalizing a need, the minimum amount of money to achieve growth of the company.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the launch point for where we really think about milestone-based funding, where we really want entrepreneurs to think about the amount of money I need, how I will use it, meaning how it gets deployed to make the business impacts they want to achieve, and then how the results they'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Is it increased sales? Is it decreased costs? Is it a piece of equipment that just is going to help them do their business? And it's that kind of thinking that can really reduce the amount of money they're seeking, increase confidence for lenders and investors, and certainly drive a dialogue of clarity in how they think about their business. But I know you spent a lot of time thinking about Bootstrap Plus and milestone-based funding. What's sort of your take on how it's evolved and what we do when we talk about Bootstrap Plus?
Well, one of the early questions was every entrepreneur starts their business because they want to be the best in the world at what they're doing, right? Otherwise, and if you as an entrepreneur don't believe that, then you kind of wonder, well, why not? Why don't you believe so strongly in your business that you will be the greatest salsa maker in the entire world? This salsa that I'm making it's going to revolutionize salsa. It's going to be everywhere. And while I think that's a fantastic way to think of your product and the desire to have behind it, to set out from day one as that's what I'm going to have as success. If I'm not the number one salsa maker in the world, then I'm a failure. Mm-hmm. And to set up my funding along those same lines to where if I'm going to take $1 million early on, and I'm going to go burn that $1 million on a monthly basis to go try to become the number one salsa maker in the world. Well, if I don't become the number one salsa maker in the world, then you fall back to that being a disappointment. That is a letdown. But if you kind of leave that as your end goal in mind, but then identify, all right, well, if that's where I want to be someday, what are the next 3 things that I need to do to get there? Well, maybe I need to get into one new grocery store. And in order to do that, I have to produce enough to be able to supply to that one grocery store reliably. And in order to do that, well, I need a couple of pieces of machinery, and I need a new space and maybe one employee. So I can go in and really identify those early milestones and those early steps to get there. And then I can go raise small amounts of capital without giving away a large portion of my company in equity to go get there. And if I set myself up along those stair-stepped ways early on, then if I don't ever end up being the number one salsa maker in the world, well, I don't have investors that went in early expecting me to do so. I have folks that really just wanted to see me get into that one retailer, hire that extra person, and get into the new space. And to the extent that that's what they gave me the money to do, and to the extent that I go do it, then it's a win for everyone. And nobody expects more, and everybody can walk away happy at that point. And then if that happens, well, let's go set the next 3 milestones. Let's go do it again. Let's go repeat it.
Well, thank you. Milestone-Based funding and Bootstrap Plus.